So I spent all last week working in Seattle, and don't adjust your sets. This isn't a Casey Neistat video. No, ain't nobody got time for that. Yes, I jacked this off YouTube and decided to just put it in my video because it gave me a chance to talk again about my last week in Seattle. And truth be told, I'm out in Seattle about 6 to 7 weeks out of the year for work, and normally I'm very accustomed to traveling and training. I still get in the gym 3 to 4 times when out there in most cases, but this week was not the case. Was extremely busy, not only at work but with other work functions at night, where it really kept me out of the gym, and I didn't think I'd be able to train all week. Now don't get me wrong, I can miss training sessions here and there. I'm okay with it at this point, but when we start talking about missing multiple sessions in a row, things can get pretty tough on my mind and it starts playing tricks on me. It wasn't until Thursday night that I got in the gym, worked up to basically a heavy set of squats and called it quits. Friday did the same thing with deadlifts, so very abbreviated sessions. And even though it's very tough to deal with, can be very frustrating at times, I really try to tell myself that it doesn't really mean much in the long run. What I really focus on is all that history I have of training and being in the gym, where missing some days here and there really isn't going to amount to much. Although it's so funny how our mind can play tricks on us, whether it be with training or diet. When we have an off day or two, we literally think we have to start back from scratch, but obviously that's not the case. So even though last week was really tough and it seems really long, just imagine how long 2 weeks is, and the fact that you can get that for free if you're interested in becoming a certified personal trainer through the NASM at myusatrainer.com/CampbellFitness. So jumping into the training this week, I wish I had more squat frequency last week, only because with me and squats, it's really like riding a bike, meaning you never really forget how to do it. But if you give it a little bit of time in between, then there's definitely some rust that needs to be worked off, and these just felt pretty tough. Now, overall, 72% for 5 sets of 6, which equates out to 175 kilos or 386 pounds, isn't necessarily heavy, but it's a good amount of volume for me, so it felt really good to get these through, especially considering the load, the volume, and how these all moved, because I feel like even on my 5th and final set, the bar speed was pretty good overall on these. Now, one of the things that I've noticed on my squats, and many of you have noticed as well, as you're so kind enough to point out, so first, let me say thank you, is when you see angles like this, pay attention to my heels. It looks like they're coming off the floor, but what's interesting to me is the fact that I don't see this from any other angle other than the side, which makes me think that it's not so much my heels coming off the floor as much as it is my ankles kind of collapsing in. Because take a look at some of these other angles that you'll see the inside of my foot. You'll see the back heel doesn't really lift off as significantly as you see. Well, shit, you can't even tell from this angle. Way to go, dumbass. But take a look at some of the other ones you've seen, or even this last clip. You'll see that the back inside of my heel doesn't really appear to be coming off the floor. So again, I'm thinking that my ankles are kind of collapsing in. I think this is probably due to a mobility issue. Need to really focus on pushing my knees out more, but in the long run, I'm not overly concerned with it. It's not something that I'm gonna make or break my squat, especially when we're considering 5 weeks out for my next powerlifting meet. Here will be a better angle. As you can see here, the inside of my heels remain planted, so that's just really interesting to me. Although you can tell based off my right foot, or your left here, you can see my foot kind of coming in a little bit at the hole, and I think that's where you see that heel raising up just a bit. So squats for me have been going really well lately, which I'm really pleased about, and I feel like within the next couple of training cycles, I should be able to hit some new PRs on squats, which is great considering the body weight that I'm at. I wish the same could be true saying of my bench, which has completely gone into the shitter, mostly due to that AC joint issue that I've told you guys about. Now, I have been doing the stretches as I outlined about a week or 2 back before my trip. I just recently started this week going to the physical therapist to get some work done. I'm hoping over the course of the next couple of weeks that these issues correct themselves. I am still doing some lighter bench volume, not as heavy and not as voluminous as I was doing before, but I still want to make sure that I get it in. You guys know I had to say that. There's no way I can't say it like that either. So I ended up doing 4 sets of 5 here, just showing you 2 because there's nothing to show. And speaking of nothing to show, I also did a couple of sets of bent over rows. So this is a change from what I was doing before, which was a hybrid rack pull bent over row. Only because for this, it really feels better on my shoulder, getting a nice contraction in my lats, a little bit slower, more controlled, and it just feels better and safer overall. So in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.